Ooh.
Oh
Is it
man,
working?
it is working.
Now we have to wait 24 seconds in silence.
I'm sad that we had to pick the one without music because I really like the music.
We can do it again.
I mean, it makes sense that we do a cappella with our voices because this is
Yes,
voice.
it's a voice chapter. Yes,
It is a
makes
voice.
sense.
One, woo! Hello.
Hello.
Welcome everybody. Year of the Voice, year 3, chapter 9. I think decade of the Voice is gonna
Yes.
happen.
Well into the decade of the voice.
Well, I mean, look, to be honest, voice is just part of Home Assistant, right? I think, the one thing that kind of stands out for voice is that we've been like doing this, like this is the 9th time now that we really kind of, so many different things are happening. We wrap it up, package it up, and we're gonna talk about all the cool stuff that has happened since the last chapter. That means also today we're gonna talk about a couple of things you might have seen already in the release notes before. Anyway, before we get started, real quick, introduction round. My name is Paulus Schoutse. I am the founder of Home Assistant.
My name is JLo. I'm the product manager of Home Assistant, managing voice.
Hey, I'm Mike. I'm one of the voice guys at Nabukasa.
And I'm Kevin. I'm kind of the other voice guy at Nabukasa.
Nice. All right, let's get this party started. We even have a slide deck. We are next level prepared. Okay. Before we get started, why are we doing this? How can you, all the things you're going to see today that we're launching for our voice assistant is available for every voice assistant. I know we launched hardware at the end of December. Definitely going to talk about that. All the features that are working for that voice assistant work for any voice assistant. If you're using a system, the widgets on your phone, or if you're using it on the browser, if you're using it from like an ESP32, you have like soldered together, everything works. And we do this because everything we build is because we're building an open voice ecosystem. And the reason we do that is that because we are a nonprofit, the Open Home Foundation, and we care about users. There are no investors, there's no debt. If you want to support the work, and like all the people you see on the stream today, we are getting paid full-time to work on a lot of different open home related things, including voice. If you want to support our work, you can either buy the hardware that we sell, Home Assistant Green, Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition, or our Zigbee stick, the Home Assistant Connect CBT1, or even better, subscribe to Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. That money that is being raised there will all go directly to the Open Home Foundation and fund just people working on the Open Home Foundation project. So if you want to support our work, and with Home Assistant Cloud, you also get access to the premium voices that make your voice assistant work as good as it can be, really. So try it out. Anyway, if you like what we're doing, support our work. That's it for the commercial break.
Yes. And now we're back.
All right. Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition. This is a little gadget we launched last December. And 23 minutes into the launch, sold out. Oops. So we were actually prepared this time. We were like, we're going to have a lot in stock. That didn't live up to the demand. We've been working hard on getting more stock. It's working. It's selling out. There's actually stock right now. If you go to the Home Assistant website, click on the voice page, click on buy now. We list distributors per country or region. There's definitely some stock. I just checked.
And then we sold out again.
We're getting more. The challenge around always at the beginning of the new year is that it's Chinese New Year in China, and then the factories are closed. So, and it's not just actually that the factories are closed, is that because everybody wants to get all their stuff in before Chinese New Year, so that like after Chinese New Year, everything kind of slowly starts up. So it's coming. If you miss out this round, it will definitely come back. But reception has been great. We're onboarding a huge amount of new users into the Home Assistant's voice ecosystem, which is awesome. We're getting a lot of good feedback. And, we're seeing room for improvement. We're seeing things where we're iterating. And as we said before, This is the best hardware that we can ship today. That's the Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition. The software we're going to keep making better and better and better. And part of what we're showing today is this software getting better. So yeah, let's dig in. Why don't you give it a go, Mike?
Sure. So let me talk a little bit about kind of the path through the Home Assistant voice ecosystem people have been doing to date. So you interact with Home Assistant if you're outside the app and stuff through a voice satellite of some kind. So this could be a voice preview edition. It could be an ESP32, and there's actually some new players coming into the market here that are building stuff for Home Assistant voice that hopefully we'll talk about in the future. Anyway, so the satellites talk to your Home Assistant server locally, and then from there, it goes out to whatever you choose. So kind of the easy path is for people to go out to Home Assistant Cloud. This is a private cloud instance with Microsoft Azure, and you get very fast, very accurate, speech to text, text to speech. So that's the easy path, and it works great on low-end hardware. For people who want to go all local, we've had services like Whisper and Piper. This is OpenAI's speech to text model, and Piper is our text to speech engine that all runs fully local. This is kind of a medium difficulty and also requires more hardware. We recommend a bare minimum of an N100 to run Whisper, and that's mostly with English, and it'll work okay. If you really know what you're doing and you got the money, you can put a GPU in your Home Assistant server and step things up to the much larger Whisper models, and you can get faster performance, more accurate transcriptions, all that stuff. But that's a very difficult thing for a lot of people, and it's a lot more expensive and a lot more power hungry. Yeah. Right. This is a couple hundred watts you're probably running every now and then to get your voice transcriptions.
So, but Mike, when we set out our year of the voice, wasn't it our goal that everyone should be able to control their home in their own language?
Yes. So that has been our goal, which is a huge goal for I like to think of Nabukasa as a sub-billion-dollar company. So lofty goal. We're working on it, and with my past work on Raspi, which was a open source voice toolkit, we've been able to take another step towards that goal.
Yeah, and so we wanted to step for that local voice assistant that is now medium difficulty, requiring extra hardware, requiring a bigger computer. We really set out can we fix this? Can we actually, is there a path? Can we find some middle ground where it can run locally, but it actually still controls your house, still does most of the things that we use our voice assistant for? And Mike has been cooking something up. He is it's almost like a technological historian. Now we dug up some old technology, polished it up, and got it working, and it's actually really working great. So, Mike, what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, so let's move the slide. We're going to talk about a system called Speech to Phrase. Very carefully chosen name. We'll talk about
marketeers, of open source. We know what we're doing.
We have an icon, etc. I mean, it's perfect.
I wanted to name it after a bird, I think, initially. That sounds like something I'd come up with. Yeah. But so speech to phrase, what is this? So this is an add-on you can download today for Home Assistant. And at launch here, we have the languages listed. What it does is, instead of being a general speech to text system where whatever you say, it's going to try to figure out, what the written form of that is, speech to phrase has a set of predefined phrases that we've put in there, and it will pick which one of those, what you said, sounds closest to, or it can say it sounds close to none of them. So at least certain kinds of false positives it can handle. So the limitation is that it can only select from this subset of sentences. But the really cool thing for local voice is that these sentences are personalized with your device and area names and sentence triggers. So for people who've had difficulty with Whisper recognizing certain entity names, for example, I have a lamp called the Standing Light, and Whisper just cannot seem to get it. It wants to think of it as standard light or standing leg. Yeah, and it's you can add aliases to get around this. You can say, all right, my light is just also known as standing leg, and there we go. It gets a little annoying though to manually put all those in. So speech to phrase will only recognize what you give it, and so this is really cool. It will do English, French, German, Dutch, Spanish, and Italian at launch, and coming soon here we got Czech and Russian. The limitation here is just me collaborating with the language leaders and figuring out what subset of the sentences we want, because we want kind of there's really only one or maybe two ways to do something, like turn on a light or say never mind, whereas with our general intents there's 1,000 ways maybe to say different things.
I think it's like a different. Go ahead.
I think the big difference is that with our normal intent matching, with the speech-to-text system that can transcribe any speech into text, you don't really have to learn the technology. You just say how you would turn on the lights, and the system tries to understand you. With large language models, this gets even one step further, and we always try to understand you, no matter how weird or vague you're trying to be. With speech-to-phrase, you have to learn the technology. Now, we are picking the most common phrases. So like turn on the light, turn on the living room, turn on the kitchen lights, turn on the standing light. All these things, we are pre-generating as sentences, fine-tuning this model on your device locally. Everything here is happening 100% locally on your Home Assistant box, right? If this is a Home Assistant Green, if this is a Raspberry Pi 4, it will just, 30 seconds to fine-tune and generate all the sentences, Mike?
About 30 seconds on a like something like an i5 even, or a Pi 5. We're
and this
talking
is
a couple seconds.
The fine tuning, the generating a sentence is a one-time thing.
Yeah, it happens once.
Yeah, and then once it's done, like you see here, it's like it takes a second to execute commands, and it's like way more accurate than Whisper will ever be. It's way more faster than Whisper will ever be. The only downside, that is really you cannot do open text. So things that have limited variations, like shopping lists or broadcast, a new feature that we're going to talk about in a second, or if you do sentence trackers with wildcards, they won't work. This also speech-to-phrase, it won't work with large language models. Well, unless you want to have only those sentences with large language models. But generally, you want to be, having say whatever you want. So there's some limitations, but the good news is, because we fine-tune this locally, it has all your areas, devices, but also sentence triggers, right?
Yep.
You register an automation saying it's party time, which may be the most important sentence in any smart home. It will work. It will work with speech-to-phrase. So we're super stoked about this.
And also, like we, for some, it's not fully a wildcard, but for example, for timers, there was a lot of variations about the time duration that you can put on timers. Today, technically, you can set a timer for 3 hours, 15 minutes, and 49 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to reduce that set. Timers are also working on speech to phrase, but they are working for the most common, I would say, duration. It's quite a lot, by the way, but we try to reduce. In fact, what we are trying to do is we are trying to reduce the set of sentences possible so that the training stays in check for low-powered hardware, and the duration of processing a command stays in check also.
And the accuracy. So especially with numbers, this is old. This is much older speech-to-text technology called Caldi. And if you have millions and millions of possible sentences, it has a hard time distinguishing between those. And so, for example, it was having difficulty setting a timer for 15 versus 50 minutes in English. And I got around that by excluding certain variations. So yeah, that's the limitation. What we have done, I will say, for the shopping list broadcast, things like that, there is an advanced path if you want to add like possible values for these lists. If I'm going to only ever add these 10 things to my shopping list, again, it's an advanced thing, but it is possible. And this somebody's asking about acceleration. There's no need for hardware acceleration here. Your hardware is fast, and I'll give a demonstration here in a moment. Unless everybody's.
I did already one question. I mean, we can of course go into the questions. Yeah. I'll do one question, I think, and then we should just go do those demos because, heck yeah, this is cool. The question is, could you use a fallback for speech to phrase? The answer is no, because speech to phrase consumes the audio, right? So when speech to phrase decides something, we haven't sent the audio to something else either. Now, You could keep track of all the audio bytes, and when speech to phrase fails, try to send it over to something, but then the response will get very long, right? There's no time to wait. Really, at the end of when you stop talking, you should get the answer right away. So
it's actually, I think it's interesting because we are talking about something that may sound confusing, because we said, like, we try to reduce the set of syntax, etc. This is not a new agent. This is a new speech to text. This is the
Engine.
first box of a pipeline that has itself a reduced output. So it can only output specific sentences. And then we go to the same conversation agent, which is the Home Assistant conversation agent, and then we process the command.
Yeah. Hey,
so it's kind of like a filter before. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's just show these demos, guys, because there's all these questions, and we're going to answer 50% of them at least.
Yes. All right. So my demo here, I got Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition.
All right, maybe put you in big.
One sec. I'm gonna make you bigger. There you go.
All right. So I got this sitting here on the desk. I've got a button that helps me switch between different pieces of hardware, so we can see how it performs on these different ones. So I forget which pipeline I'm on, actually.
Speech to phrase PC.
That's PC.
Activated speech to phrase
Pi 5.
Activated Home Assistant Cloud.
Okay, so I was
Activated speech to phrase green.
all right. So this is on a Home Assistant green.
Can you increase the volume slightly, or is it like?
I think. Oh, maybe I was holding it close to the webcam. I should hold it close to here.
If that's
it's
where
fine if we don't see.
is,
It's fine if we don't see the voice preview edition.
Okay, but what you do need to see is
the light.
My party light.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to hold both of these in my hand. See if I can not drop them on my mic. Okay, so this is sending the audio to the Home Assistant green, doing all the processing there, fully locally, trained on my areas and devices for my. This is my production Home Assistant.
And a green is mostly like in terms of hardware of power. It's equivalent to kind of a Raspberry Pi, more or less. It's very low powered.
I'd say like a Pi 4, basically.
Pi 4, yeah.
Around
3 watts of idle consumption. It's a very low powered device.
Yeah. So let's turn this on. Turn on party light.
Turned on the light.
Okay.
Nice. That was good. I mean, this is on the Home Assistant green, so we just have a voice preview edition and the Home Assistant green, no other hardware, right? No crazy stuff.
No acceleration. This is just fully local. Set party light to blue.
Color set.
Nice.
All right, so you can see we're getting about a second to come back. This is also using Piper, by the way, locally. So this is text-to-speech local as well.
Is it 1 second? I feel it's much faster.
Maybe that's faster.
Even on the green.
All right, let's time it. That's really.
What do you mean?
Set party light to green.
1.
Color set.
felt like a second, but that's okay. The nerds can time the video on the YouTubes later and leave a comment below if you think it's faster. Oh, by the way, if you like speech to phrase, just like and subscribe to our channel. This video, thumbs up it. It's and then Mike will do the next demo if we get 50 more likes.
That's right.
Let's wait then.
All right, let's try switching to. Oh, did my button go?
Activated speech to phrase PC.
Okay, so this is on my 12, 13-year-old i5 that runs my production Home Assistant.
So this box you can buy on eBay equivalent like $70, right? Like
yeah, pretty much.
Not very energy efficient, probably, or
not as much as a Pi. I've never actually measured it, but it's one of those like Lenovo mini PCs. So probably a little more efficient.
Right.
All right, let's try. Set party light to red.
Color set.
Like this is I see the VP. Can you just maybe for once just show the VP because we can see the animation and I think that the processing is completely instant.
Set party light to blue.
Color set.
Yeah, so it's when it stops spinning the processing, it's instant.
It's almost instant. Yeah.
And I'll just do one more demo. This is
activated speech to phrase Pi 5.
So this is a Pi 5, which amazingly in my timings runs about the same as the PC. Just really cool. Set party light to green.
Color set.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, and then finally.
We can actually
Turn off party light.
Turned off the light.
we
Do
can
you mind
actually
making,
go into
making-
Home Assistant,
Go ahead.
right, and actually see the timing of the speech to text.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. We could
Before
do-
that, Mike, because I saw that you have it, do you mind doing the same demo on Home Assistant Cloud?
Oh sure.
Because when you think about
Activated
it,
Home Assistant Cloud.
Yeah. So this is about the same. Turn on party light.
Turned on the light.
That's instant. Yeah.
So yeah, and one more. Turn off party light.
Turned off the light.
And
All right.
the big difference here is that Home Assistant Cloud can transcribe any speech, right?
yes, of
So
course, yeah.
you can have all the sentence variations. You can send it to AI. You can do a lot of other stuff with it.
So let me do here. We can see.
Yeah.
All right. So in your Home Assistant in settings
Wait,
voice
Mike, do you
assistant.
like enhance a little bit,
Oh,
or
yeah,
shrink
yeah,
the
sorry
browser
about that.
window, or
Sorry about that. Settings. Let me shrink the browser window here. Come on.
there you go.
Perfect.
All right. So let's see. So I've got the different pipelines here. So you can do debug and you can see how fast speech to text was. So Home Assistant Cloud, we've got 0.13 seconds for the last command. Let's come back here to, let's take a look at the green, see what we were at. Oh, wow, that was even faster than I thought. So we had 0.38, 37. Yeah, so it's
Okay, yeah, that was right.
coming in at under half a second most of the time. What about the 5.5?
Got to update the slides.
That's right. Okay, so this one is even. Oops. There we
Which
go.
makes sense when you think about it, that it could be faster than cloud because the model is super restricted, etc. And
Yeah.
it's local. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again,
Because
this is recognizing thousands of phrases versus near infinite from
Yeah.
from that. So yeah, these are real numbers from just right now. Lastly, the PC, and then I'll be done with this. So about the same as the Pi 5. I mean, there's not that one. Oh yeah, that was from my testing. I was gonna show. So this can also recognize. Here, I
Nothing.
can stop sharing the.
One sec. Up.
It is biased towards trying to recognize one of your phrases, but it is capable of saying, okay, this is outside of what I know. I'm just going to say
Time out,
nothing.
yeah.
So if you do something like, so I can see it. This is a sentence that you should not do anything with.
Sorry, I couldn't understand that.
Nice.
I'm on cloud.
No.
I'm on cloud.
Yeah, you're still in
Oh.
cloud.
Activated
No,
speech
yes.
to phrase green.
Okay, let me, I'm on green now.
Okay.
This is a sentence you should not do anything with. It's trying hard. Oh,
And
that's
it's red.
you saw it blinks red. It was really hard to see on the camera.
Which makes sense that it's not going. You don't have a response because when you think about it, it doesn't even go to the agent.
Yep.
The
It just
the
comes back and
speech-
says,
the
I don't know what to
STT
do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The STT,
Well, I mean, I
yeah.
feel like we should fix that maybe, right? Like
we could.
it
we
should
could
be
have,
If
like-
it throws a specific error like out of vocabulary, we could just say like
Yeah.
to the agent, please fail, so that
Yeah.
we have an answer. Yeah.
We could do something. but
it's
anyway.
funny that like the error takes a lot longer, right?
Yep, because
Because
there's some extra steps that are happening. Yep.
Yeah.
Should we show how to install the add-on where it is?
Sure. I'll throw it
Let's do
over
it,
to you,
yeah.
JLoad.
So we are, while JLo is getting his screen ready, we are working, as you know, when we launched the Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition, we added a wizard. So when you connect the Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition to Home Assistant, you're thrown into a wizard. We help you get the best voice setup for your system. We haven't added speech to phrase yet. It's something we're working on. No timelines. We're making sure it's like exact right, and we're having a lot of discussions how to do it. But until then, the add-on is available and it's part of the default add-ons in Home Assistant. So yes, you do need Home Assistant operating system. That is always the easiest way to get any of this going. But the majority of you all are doing this already. So you want to hit it, JLo?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's even without the wizard that Paulus just mentioned, It is not a very complex process, to be honest. Settings, add-on store. That's it. It's there.
Yeah.
You just install it. Once it's installed, it is discovered. I will not click on install because I already have a older version because we just made a mess. I mean, it's my fault. It's fine. It's fine. It is discovered automatically by the Wyoming protocol, this one, the Wyoming one.
And
then you click on configure, and you have it. It's there. Speech to phrase.
And then you can pick it in the voice assistant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What is inside is, I would say nothing. It's called a service entity, which is like a STT entity. You should.
You cannot click on this.
I mean, you can, yeah, but there is nothing much about it. And then you go to voice assistant, and you create an assistant, and you just put speech to phrase as a speech to text. Then that's it.
That's it.
And I am on a N100, and I have kind of the same thing as you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the N100 is actually slower than my PC, than your PC, or maybe it's because I have more entities.
Oh, that might be, yeah.
Maybe it's because I have more entities. I mean, it's still super fast, but yeah.
I do. Some people were asking. I do plan to put out a Docker container with it for people running it externally, but for right now, the add-on's the way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so fast. Like it doesn't really like, you know.
Yeah. I had something interesting I had something interesting to share. Okay, kind of a small demo. So Mike said that it's the first time that we have a speech engine that is biased toward our own entity and our own devices and our own area, which is super great if you have something in your house that is named in a weird way, I would say, or in a way that is not standard. There is a way to fix that if you are using Home Assistant Cloud or Whisper, which is adding aliases. But adding aliases is manual and tedious. You have to do it. Whereas here it's done automatically. Actually, if you look at, just like for the nerds, if you go to the add-on and you go to the logs, you can see which kind of sentence or kind of word speech to phrase is trying to guess the pronunciation. Inside this list, there is the name of my daughter that has a particular orthograph that is not common. And this means that if I don't do anything, if I don't add any aliases, if I just name an area as my daughter's name, like Marilou's bedroom, then speech to phrase outperform everything, even on Assistant Cloud, which I find quite interesting. I can make a very small demo. I'm going to try to turn on Marilou's bedroom, which are this one. So I'm going to try to do it with Home Assistant Cloud. I will speak in French, but I will show you afterwards what happened. Wait, one sec.
What pipeline are you on?
Live demo. I want to remove the fallback because the fallback works. So I really want it to fail, so I want to remove the fallback. And the last thing is, on which voice assistant am I? All right. Sorry. So I will try to turn on all of these lights. Allume les lumières dans la chambre de Marilou.
Désolé, je ne connais pas l'étage chambre de Marilou.
So it failed. And if you see how it failed because the most common way of writing Marilou is with a Y, and mine is with an I. So this failed. And if I just change the pipeline, that's the only thing I do. So I just go to my Super Assist dashboard. I have too many voice assistants, but that's my problem. And I just change to speech to phrase. Allume les lumières dans la chambre de Marilou.
Allumé.
Yeah, it's biased towards my entity, my area, my everything, and it just works.
Nice.
Again, if you really want to fix this and without using speech to phrase, it's actually easy for one area, one entity. You go to the correct area and you just add an alias with the Y, right? So it hurts me writing it like this, but if I do this and I just do that, then it fixed. But it's very interesting to see that in specific areas, speech to phrase is actually better than everything else.
Because you had this issue with Whisper, you had this issue with Home Assistant Cloud because it supports every word, right?
Exactly.
And the other a speech-to-text model tries to get the most frequent occurring spelling of a word, right? Like that's what it will transcribe it as. And so any special occurrences, speech-to-phrase will just win because speech-to-phrase doesn't care about those other words. We don't generate those phrases. All right. Do we have another demo for speech to phrase?
Well, I mean, this was a two demo in one, just because I think it's also interesting for the non-English speaking part of the community. For example, in French, you saw that it works very fast, and it's actually the only local option that kind of work. Whisper is actually, I'm not going to say bad, because I think that if you know what you're doing, you can run it, but you
If
need
you
to
have big hardware,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, so let me just make a generic demo of speech to phrase in French. I will just do a few things. Let's say, let's turn on this light. Allume les lumières dans la chambre.
Allumé.
Instant. Let's try to turn them on to like 20%. Allume la chambre à 20%.
Luminosité
Nice.
arrivée.
Instant. I don't know, cover. Let's close this cover. Ferme le volet. Yeah, so I mean, it's for the scope that is, for what's in scope, which is home control, it is very usable.
Yeah.
Then, of course, if you start to wander outside of that, and you start to say like, I don't know, anything that could be like AI related, etc., then of course it doesn't work. But for home control, it's great.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
really-
like that, the speed you're seeing here, right? Like this is just a Home Assistant green. This is just a voice PE. Like this. Oh, this is an N100, right? But like,
I mean, Mike showed it,
low-powered
same thing, right?
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's low powered.
This is amazing. Like the amount of capabilities we're able to squeeze out of this hardware is phenomenal. And the fact that anyone can now very easily access voice control, right? You don't need internet, you don't need powerful hardware. You can just use this. And we're having now 6 languages at launch. Czech, Russian are coming, Mike. What how does it work? Like, do you flip a coin, pick a language? Is it how you step out of bed this day? Like, what's the process?
Before that, 85% of the installation are supposed to be on a language that is supported today.
Yep.
That's kind of like, you know.
So part of it is, yes, we're looking at the opt-in analytics from Home Assistant and kind of focusing on that. So that's one, part of the choice for a language. Another is if I have a voice in Piper already, which, thank you to all the volunteers who've been reading over the last few years to help me develop Piper languages or Piper voices. If I have a Piper voice and we have the support for the intents in Home Assistant, then the missing third piece is that speech to text model, and that's where I want to focus on it. So trying to get it so that there's a complete local path for that language. And then lastly, there's a couple languages where they're kind of like often forgotten or like challenging languages to get, and I'm interested in trying those. 2 of those I haven't started yet are Welsh and Scots. So
That'd be a good one.
I would love to get that. And the limitation there is just data. So if people are interested, contributing to Mozilla's Common Voice is the top way to help with the speech models. For the text to speech models, though, that's something. Contact me, voice@nabucasa.com. If you're willing to donate your voice for Piper, not just for Piper, but we put these data sets in the public domain so everybody can benefit from it.
Yeah. Cool. Do we have more speech to phrase demos? Or are we gonna because we have so much more stuff this week.
This is all I got. I just have one button, so
One button. Yeah, okay, yeah. Subscribe to Home Assistant Cloud, and maybe Mike will get a second button.
yes, please.
So just one thing that we said. I just want to make sure that it's understood, it's clear. Speech to phrase supports most of the home control. So what you can do, the intent is almost everything, turning on and off things per area, per floor, setting brightness, color, Mike show color, covers, locks, doors, positions of covers, timers, etc. What we are trying to reduce is mostly the variation on the sentences. There is usually 1 or 2 ways of saying these sentences because it is supposed to be running for everyone. And that's it. This is just what I wanted to say. So this is the important thing that Paul said. It's like you usually have to know the sentence before using it. As the opposite of the spectrum would be like Home Assistant Cloud with an LLM, where you can basically say whatever you want and it's going to be understood.
And we tried to
There's always a cost. Yeah, there is
check,
always
check
a
the
cost.
documentation. We've documented the common phrases.
Yeah.
Well, read the documentation, Mike, in 2025.
Ask ChatGPT to mute.
Ask ChatGPT how to do voice locally.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's working in Dutch. That's great for you. Big thanks to the I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the acronym is CGN for the Dutch Institute that trained the Caldi model I'm using. It's I don't know how to pronounce what CGN is.
We have two interesting questions.
Oh.
Does it retrain the model when entities are added to a
Oh
system?
yeah.
Yes, so it's checking every couple minutes to see if anything's changed. It will also check when you restart the add-on, or if you start a voices command and something has changed, it will try to retrain itself right then and there to make sure it's up to date. But yes, it auto retrains, and it looks at your configured Home Assistant language and the pipelines you've configured to guess which languages you would like a model trained in.
And what Mike is saying, like anything changed, it's more than adding entities to Home Assistant. It is changing aliases, exposing, unexposing, creating a sentence trigger automation. So if you create a sentence trigger automation, it may not work right away because I think we are checking every 5 or 10 minutes, but it's going to work. Otherwise, as Mike said, if you hit the first command and it changed, you will have a slight delay because we retrain and that's it. It's done. And the second question, which is just a reminder from Frank, I think it's important for people that are joining. Does fallback to an LLM still work? The answer is no, because it's close-ended. So if you go out of vocabulary, it's the step before the agent that is going to fail anyway. So if you say, who is the founder of Home Assistant? The answer is going to be, I don't understand what you are saying, so I'm not even going to go to the agent to try to see if the command is supported or not. It's like, I don't know this.
Yeah. Not as useful, but you could add custom sentences for that, but then you would only be able to say those things.
So it's still close-ended, right?
Maybe we can hard code that exact one, but otherwise. Okay. There's some questions coming in. I think we kind of covered some already, but does it understand custom sentences when I configure them? This is using an automation. You can attach sentence trigger, write your own sentences. Yes, but yes, if you just write a sentence, we understand that. If you write a sentence with a wildcard that can fit any text, obviously we cannot train that one. But if you say the most important automation, it's party time, you make that one, it will work with speech to phrase. This was a show-stopping requirement. So yes.
And just
I have case, like I'm leaving the house, for example, like very common one I'm using always. I'm leaving the house. Works pretty well. Yeah.
Just in case that was an advanced scenario where you had custom sentences in YAML and all that stuff, you can copy and paste those in a particular place and it can pick those up. But sentence triggers are the way to go if you want to customize sentences.
Okay, let's go on to the next step because we have a lot more to cover today, and we cannot be streaming forever. So next up, when we announced the Voice Preview Edition, we said we're not just launching a product, we are launching or building an open voice ecosystem, and that meant that what we wanted to do is that Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition is not going to be the only great voice assistant that works with Home Assistant. We want there to be many. We want manufacturers to take our designs. We've open sourced our designs. We want JLO to be able to make walkie-talkies that integrate and work exactly with all the cool stuff that we're building here together, right? And part of that is, of course, open sourcing all the parts. Now, everything was open source, but we're making sure everything is more and more usable. And to talk a bit more about that is Kevin.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as Paul said, everything was open source and people were using it actually for several months as I was building it. So it's pretty cool. But, when I first started working on the firmware last summer for the Voice Preview Edition, the goal was always to get everything into ESPHome. But we kind of had to move fast. Like we had to get this thing built and ship it in December. And so we're moving fast, breaking things. And so I purposely just did not do anything with the main ESPHome code base. I just developed it all in our custom repo. because I would have introduced so many different breaking changes, and then I would have broken those breaking changes to go back to where they were. It would have been a mess. But since we've got the release out there, fixed a few bugs, you can see I've been busy with all my pull requests in the last month or two. And so actually, as of this week, all the media player code is into mainline ESPHome. One of the nice things about this process that took a while to get there, but I really split up things so it fits with the ESPHome style, kind of how components work, how everything should be on its own. And it meant we don't need to have just like an S3, ESP32 S3 to run the stuff. You can run a media player on an Atom Echo. Now, I feel silly because I bought a nice pair of bookshelf speakers to use with my voice preview edition, just for some music. But man, this thing, great microphone.
It jams.
So you can play music on this, but I won't recommend it.
I have 7 of them, and I'm doing Dolby Atmos with my TV.
There you go. Yeah.
For an amp, it must be incredible. I mean, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But we haven't forgotten about like the S3 box either. So this will have some new firmware coming with the new ESPHome release. And yeah, you'll be able to do a lot of the new features from the voice preview edition, where like you can announce or broadcast is a new one. We'll talk about that more at the end here. But you can announce to the device with the text-to-speech that's configured for it. And so now this will work on an Atom Echo on an S3 box. Also, another fun thing with the S3 box, you couldn't really hear it before, right? The volume was bad. Well, you can change the volume now, and you can hear it. So that'll be good. So a lot of this stuff is getting into ESPHome. A little bit is to come still. Mainly the wake words are changing wake words, and Home Assistant is not available yet. That's the last big thing I need to work on getting in there. But the wizard will set up. If you install the firmware onto an Atom Echo, the upcoming firmware when we get the ESPHome release, then you plug it in, it'll launch the wizard automatically, and it'll help you set up, the voice assistant and Home Assistant.
I mean, and this is actually kind of freaking awesome because that small Atom Echo that Kevin was holding up, this is a $13 device, 13, right? $13. So now you have your Home Assistant running on a Home Assistant Green for $100, and you add a $13 device. It becomes a voice assistant that does everything fully local processing, no internet. That's crazy awesome.
I have one question, which I know the answer, but I want to discuss about it. What about the crazy echo cancellation, voice processing that we have on that device?
That is the big upside of using a voice preview edition. It has that XMOS chip that cleans up the audio, it removes the currently playing audio if you're playing music and things like that. Another limitation is like on the S3 box, you have a media player. You can't play media and listen for voice commands at the same time. So that's definitely I will be able to get that in eventually and get support for that. It won't have the acoustic echo cancellation though. So if you have music blaring on this thing, it probably won't hear you talk. So that's really where the voice preview edition excels. Though for a lot of use cases, even an Atom Echo is fine. If you have it right on your desk right next to you, that's sufficient perhaps for your use case.
Yeah. Something people may not realize. So the S3 box has firmware that comes from Espressif that can do things like echo cancellation and all this stuff. And people have asked me, so why don't you just use that? Do you want to talk about that, Kevin, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, we use some of it already to do like VAD, voice activity detection, and it was just kind of a giant mess to get it built into ESPHome. They also changed their code a bit. So, you try to use it and then they make a breaking change and then they make another breaking change. And it would be a challenge to really get that supported and stable. Though I have to say, I do think with all the audio changes I'm making into ESPHome, I've kind of built it up from the foundation of, okay, you only have one speaker and only does one type of audio. I've made a lot more general. I think it may be possible down the road to get that to fit in a bit nicer instead of just kind of the current approach where all would have to go into one thing. But it's not a trivial thing to do. And
plus, we've wanted everything to be open source and stable, right? So those two things driving it. Whereas if we use the Espressif stuff, we'd be getting kind of closed source libraries that change often, and so that's kind of been the driving force.
I wanna do a big shout out to Jesse. Jesse Rocks, Jesse Hills. He's leading the ESPHome project. ESPHome is also part of the Open Home Foundation. Actually, Jesse is also a colleague of us at Nabukasa, getting paid by all your precious Home Assistant cloud subscriptions. He has, you see all these pull requests here from Kevin that are merged. Jesse was the one that has been reviewing, keeping the quality of ESPHome high, while Kevin is trying to sneak in all his hacks.
Well, the funny thing is, I tried to submit the media player last October, November, or something like that. And Jesse came to me and said, like, yeah, I don't want to review 3,500 lines of code. Can you split it up? I was like, okay, I can split it up. So now you can see it'll split up into 9 pull requests. It just grew by 2,000 lines total. So
that makes sense.
Built more stuff.
I have your video ready here. Kevin, shall we kick it off?
Yeah, go.
Let's do it.
They do say the wake words, so sorry about that.
And also, are we spoiling the next comment? The next part of the...
No, we're demoing. Now? We're demoing the next slide as well. I think that's how.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yes.
So Mycroft and Nabu will.
Okay, Nabu. Broadcast hello. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Done. Hey, Mycroft. Broadcast, I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm doing well, thank you. Done.
So
a nice media player going there on both of them.
Yeah. So this is really cool, actually, what you're seeing. So obviously you see the new announce feature. No, not the new announce feature, the new broadcast feature where you can talk to one satellite to talk to another satellite. But the fact that these now use new media player code, the way they are playing the audio, that's all new, hip, and improved. And I think, by the way, this is also important to know, is that the wake word engine that Kevin built, it runs on these devices, right? Even that tiny $13 one can run wake words. So that is just freaking impressive.
Yeah.
Jesse has, by the way, a question. Could the broadcast use the actual source audio instead of text to speech? Maybe, but we haven't built anything like that at all. So
the announce, you can pick a media ID if that's what. Oh, you're talking about like actually.
Yeah,
like intercom feature.
Yeah. Maybe
we're not that fancy yet. One day. All right.
I did see a question there I wanted to answer, though. Is this available now if I have my device up to date? Not quite yet. The ESPHome release is in a week, and then we'll be able to push for updated firmware.
Yeah.
But if you did not take control of the device in ESPHome, if you are using our standard firmware, then you will see a update popping up. Yep. As simple as that, like any device.
I love the suggestion broadcast. Okay, Nabu, turn on the lights. And
I was debating about actually making that my demo, but I decided.
Have you ever see that video where somebody had the different voice assistants? So yeah, we could make that now with a.
Isn't that a whole South Park episode?
I think that's all of them, pretty much.
No, there's this one where like Cartman, I think, is having all these voice assistants like talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so this is super excited. We cannot wait for pushing out this update to everyone that's running an S3 box at Mago. It will be a lot better. And stay tuned. I think the release is going to be in a week for ESPHome. Actually, if you are into ESPHome and you like ESPHome and you want to see more things from Jesse and Keith, the people leading it, the people working full-time on ESPHome, they are doing a live stream next week at this very channel, at this very time. So if you want to know what goes behind the scenes, this is your time to tune in next week. Okay, are we ready for the next topic? This is a topic dear to my heart. Thank you, Kevin. It's large language models. We have done a bunch of work on AI since the last Chapter 8 release. I think the biggest thing is that previously, when you were using a large language model inside your voice assistant, it would just send the text to the voice assistant will respond, or like the large language model will respond. Now, we were actually bypassing your sentence triggers, and we're like, no. So we actually fixed that. So we added your sentence triggers. And then we were like, okay, but if you're saying turn on the light to your large language model, we actually know how to handle that locally. So let's set it up so we can check it locally and make it an opt-in feature. So you can say turn on the lights, it will do locally. If you say who's the president or something, it will go to a large language model. Now, that was great, except that we realized we're missing context. So we have this example, and actually, I should have had it ready here. I don't have
I
it
have
ready,
it.
but
I have it.
Oh,
you have it ready?
Wait, no, wait. But to talk like one more second, and I have
Okay.
it.
So we realized that a large language model needs to know what either the sentence trigger or local processing has done to use it as context of what you are talking about, because this is an ongoing conversation. And so the big example was always, do you want to turn on the light? Turn on the lights. Okay, turned on. Now turn them back off. Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you want me to turn on? Because it didn't know that previously a light was being turned on. Now it is
So here in
shared.
this example, yeah, like this one is processed by the default agent, so it's bypassed the LLM. And the second one is triggered by the LLM, that doesn't have the context about the first agent. So for it, it's like you just wake it up and say like turn it back off. And it's like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we added this notion of shared conversations. It was added to Google and OpenAI in the last release of Home Assistant, and it will be part of Anthropic and Olama as well in the next release. And that means that, as you can see on the screen, you can say turn on the bedroom lights. Okay, turn them back off. And the large language model can now kick in, see that we're talking about the bedroom lights, and turn them off. Sweet. And this whole plumbing work that we've been doing around large language models actually and conversations has allowed us to unlock a few new features. And one of them is the streaming. So let's see. What are you demoing right now, Jello?
What we are talking about, the context sharing.
Oh, the share
It's
conversation.
like
Yeah.
brighter. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, because I have a demo ready
For
for
streaming, yeah.
the streaming. Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Will it work? We don't know. That's always
That's the fun.
That's the fun of doing live demos. So this is an instance. So for this instance, I'm using Qwen 2.5 via Olama. Olama is a way to run large language models locally. There is a mixed results. If you run large language models locally, some do great with tool calling, some don't do well with tool calling. And tool calling is how a large language model can control Home Assistant. So it is important. So for this demo right now, I'm going to focus on the streaming part. I do not enable tools. So like you can see, Home Assistant will actually tell you, okay, this assistant cannot control your home. So just so that when you're talking, you're not trying to say, turn on the lights, right? Like, it'll be like, I have no idea.
Turn on your MacBook.
I was just gonna lie to you now.
Yeah.
Great.
Wait, you're saying large language models don't always tell the truth?
Oh
Yeah.
crap!
This is-
Somebody should tell somebody.
Especially smaller models. So the smaller models are way worse in trusting. I'm going to show you a page which I will throw in the chat as well. We do benchmarks frequently on all the different models to make sure that what we're building is improving it, but also testing new models. But I'm first going to show you the streaming because that's what I was trying to demo instead of this complete failure. Tell a not so short story. So should be pretty long. There you can see it is streaming the response. So a large language model is generating response as we go, and especially a longer story will take a long time. As you can see, we now don't have to wait until it's fully done. We can actually start looking at it. And this feature is going to come in the next Home Assistant release. It's already live in the nightly builds. So check it out if you want to try it out. Streaming right now is available for Olama and for OpenAI. We are working on Google. No guarantee if it gets done. If we care enough, we might do Anthropic. I don't know if many people are using Anthropic inside Home Assistant. So
Now this streaming is just the text, right?
Yeah.
yes, so
exactly,
it's
yeah.
right now the text. We don't do the voice yet. So this would be this is the golden dream, right? Where a longer response of a large language model can start streaming into the text-to-speech engine to start generating, the audio. So maybe if the first sentence is already done, we can start rendering the first sentence so that we can start playing as fast as possible. So you don't have to wait, because if a text-to-speech engine has to render a long story like this, and this will be a really long story, that's obviously going to be annoying, right? Like it will take too long. And if you're doing voice, anytime you have to wait more than a second, it doesn't feel natural, doesn't feel good. So this stuff has to be fast. So that is, of course, a longer term plan, but it's something that is now, we're one step closer. I want to, before we dive into the next topic, I mentioned that we have AI benchmarks, and I'm looking for them.
So just to summarize, if you do that with text-to-speech behind, it's streaming, and then when it hits the end, we start generating the speech.
Yes, that's
Okay.
how it works right now. I just dropped a link in the chat, and I'm gonna open it here as well. Just real quick, this is a GitHub by Alan Porter, Home Assistant data sets. Like I said, we're always doing reports. Let me just, where are the graphs? Yeah, so you can see the graphs. You can see kind of how different they're scoring. This stateless. This is actually the Assist Mini, is a more rounded, lower barrier to entry to succeed benchmark we created to also give local models a chance of succeeding. Now, you got to zoom in a little bit. You can see that, for example, Quen, I was using Quen. If we go up, we now know that Quen is the red one. Wow, sorry for this crazy poor UX, but Quen is like 85, 83% or something. Like we actually have the right numbers here. So you can see 83%, 85%. That is not good enough. Like I'll be honest, right? Like here, 98% on Gemini Flash, 95% for Gemini 2.0 Flash. Those are good numbers. Like you don't want to say something to your large language model as like 80% means that 1 in 5 times it messes up.
And
I can tell
it depends how.
If you live with other people, that's not gonna fly, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it depends how picky you are. But for example, I don't know, I'm pretty picky about my voice assistant, and you can see GPT-4o Mini is at 98%, and or 93% depending on your colon. And I find this still unacceptable. I use GPT-4o Atom, which is not even in this list because it's a bit more expensive. And this one is the only one that kind of works in French. So yeah, I mean, it depends how picky you are with voice.
All right, I'm gonna jump into this question, and then we're gonna go on to the next topic. Is there a way to capture the AI response in automation? You can actually, all the large language models are available as conversation agents inside Home Assistant, and you can just talk to them. So you can actually, you can do this in your automation. So I'm just gonna quickly
small caveat is that on AppDemon you don't have service responses. So I mean, the last time I was using it, you don't have service responses. So if it's still the case, no.
You can say hello world, and I want to say this to a conversation agent that is Quen, because I'm talking to Quen. Say perform action, and if you ask for your script or automation to give you a response, you can see that there's a response captured in this. And I actually published a blueprint not too long ago that it was inspired by a Reddit post, but basically the blueprint allows you to select a media player. It allows you to select a conversation agent whenever the media players, at a music genre, but the default was country music. So every time the music player would go to the next song, it would send the song, the album, the artist to the large language model, ask, hey, is this a country song? If it was a country song, it will automatically skip it. So this is a way how you can use artificial intelligence for improving your life, making decisions that, in this case, are pretty low stakes, but it's useful, right? Like otherwise, you have to manually hit the skip song button. And so now.
And if you see that conversation ID, you could have put that in as part of it. That's important too, because that will, if you keep it the same, then it will retain the context of the conversation thread you're having. And so if you want to keep making calls to this, right?
This is your chat history, right? And actually, this chat history now works across conversation agents. I was already doing it here real quick, but you can actually enter your conversation ID yourself. You just make it a word, like this is my super automation. Then right now, everything that you're saying in this conversation will be stored, right? And as long as you see now the conversation ID is my super automation. So if you can say, what is 1 + 1? And then you say, this is going to fill, of course. No, 2. Okay. If you can add another one, of course, this should be 3 because we just said 1 + 1. Let's see. 1 + 1 + 1 = 3.
Can you say like add another one and change the model?
Yes, I am going to, I was just going to do that. I'm doing ChatGPT now. Now ChatGPT is going to say 4. Boom.
Yeah.
Now we're doing Google, Gemini. Boom. And this is really cool, right? This is now we have one conversation between a user and Home Assistant. 3 different AI agents have been involved. And so what you could do, this is something that is called a selector agent, where basically you can start staging them. So maybe you have one AI agent that's really good in like, I don't know, asking questions about like the weather, while another AI agent is really good in asking questions about like motion in your house or these kind of things. You could have a selector agent that says, okay, which agent should I ask? And based on the answer of the first agent, forward the response to the second agent. So there's some cool stuff that you can do with that. That's actually this. We don't know what people are going to do, right? So we're building this. We are making this available to all of you guys. And then please do something cool. Tell us. Maybe we can make it better. But yeah, this has been one of the things that we're playing with. And actually in that same category, let's go to the next topic, which is also very close to my heart. It also was contributed by Alan Porter, who does the benchmarks as well. And that is Model Context Protocol. Model Context Protocol is
geeky at activated.
It's one of these things that, again, we are adding to Home Assistant. Home Assistant has a very modular design, so it's easy to add these kind of things. If it sucks, we're just going to rip it out, right? As in, like, it will just die down. This is a brand new protocol created by Anthropic. Anthropic is an AI company that makes Claude. And the idea is that normally when Home Assistant calls a large language model, it sends a set of tools. These tools are integrated into Home Assistant, and this allows the large language model to control Home Assistant. Now, Model Context Protocol allows for the sharing of tools. That means that when Home Assistant is calling a large language model internally, like I just did a couple of times, it can now include external tools. So it can, for example, there are tool servers for scraping the web, file system access, Blue Sky access. All of a sudden, Home Assistant will be able to tell the large language model, hey, I can actually control Blue Sky. I can control the file system. And the large language model, this, depending on what you're saying, can then decide, oh, let me call a tool to go do something, post a message on Blue Sky. Home Assistant will talk to the Blue Sky Model Context Protocol server. It's done. Now, we've also supported the other direction, and that is there is going to be a lot of AI software out there. I mean, people are experimenting a lot with this. As Home Assistant, we want to be the playground for AI in the smart home. And it meant for us that we need to make sure that all these other AI apps can access your smart home. And so Model Context Protocol makes this possible. And
all of the nice demos about AI is always about turning on a light.
Yeah.
so
I know. No, but I do have a better demo today. So but what's happening is that the tools of Home Assistant, they can now be used, for example, from the Claude desktop application. And that's what I'm going to show you today. So as Claude allows the user to chat with its own large language model. And by the way, how silly is it that we're always doing chat? Like, I don't think the future of AI is going to be chat. But right now, we're just doing chat. I mean, skipping the country song, that could be something where maybe you want to pull in external tools. We're not there yet. Right now, all the demos are chat. A little lame in my opinion, but we're going to get there. It's going to be better. Okay, let me find my mouse.
Also lame, but we don't control this, right? We are going as
No,
fast
we did-
as-
but we're
because we
so
need
far, like-
we need the MCP client also in this case, and there is
Yeah,
not
we
a lot
are
of them.
so that's the thing. Other people need to make cool stuff, and then we will gladly participate in that. Okay, I am showing. So this is Claude. Claude is an application to chat. Great, has the same features as Home Assistant. You can stream, you can do whatever. Now, I'm just resizing a little bit. Okay, I've opened Claude. We have a tutorial how to connect Claude to Home Assistant right now. It is not as straightforward yet. You need like a little proxy. Sorry about that. It will get better. But it's already great to kind of see what's possible. So if you open Claude, you see this little hammer icon with 20. If you open it, these are the available MCP, Model Context Protocol tools. And you can see which server, these are from the server Home Assistant. So from Home Assistant has pulled in the tools that large language models in Home Assistant have access to, and Claude has access to them. Now, get events. This is actually a new one we introduced in the last release. It allows any LLM to read your calendar and help you tell you what to do. Fix tag reader and get item locations in the home. These are cool. These are scripts. These are just straight up scripts that I created in Home Assistant. I exposed them to Assist, and now Assist can call these scripts. And you can add fields, you can add field descriptions, you can add, like, when should it be called, all these things. The large language model now knows when this should be used. And here, these are just all the other stuff that the large language model can do in Home Assistant, right? Set volume, turn off.
It's our intent, right? Yeah.
Basically all the intents, yeah. Vacuum, return to base. So
what was notify everyone? Sorry.
Oh, that is...
it's new? It's
No. Notify everyone is you release the bay doors. That's to open my front door. Notify everyone. It plays a response on the Sonos speakers in my living room. So
okay, so it's yours. It's your intent.
It's my personal one. Yeah, back in the days, like I had the analog phone before I had the voice PE. Now I have, of course, both. But for the analog phone, if they heard something funny, they could say, "Oh, can you tell me this to everyone?" And it would play the answer over the speakers.
Nice.
So, I mean, in the end, they were mainly ending up saying, "Tell everyone blah 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 blah," and then over the speakers came blah 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 blah
blah blah blah. Okay.
Kids and voice. Okay. So model context protocol. The other thing to know though is that this is stateless. It doesn't have access to the prompt by default. You can click here and you can say, "Oh, I want the prompt of Home Assistant to be added." I don't like that, so it's not as good yet. To turn on the lights, we have to build out some more tools for this. However, it is great to read my calendar events, and also I think you just saw the tool item locations in the home. Both are really cool. So I'm going to demo them real quick. Okay, when should I pick up the kids? Now, normally, Claude wouldn't know. It doesn't know anything about me. However, this time it knows, oh, I want to call a tool from Home Assistant called Calendar Get Events. And the calendar should be the kids pickup calendar because that's a calendar I have. I say, okay, allow for this chat. Now, it calls Home Assistant according to the schedule, pick up today, the kids at 4:30. That's correct. And we can actually see here, this is the result. This is what Home Assistant sent back, and the large language model understood this. Now, let's go with a little bit fancier, because, of course, reading a calendar result is great. Okay, where can I find some chargers, right? Like I'm visiting my home, there's a guest, doesn't know where the chargers are.
You are visiting your own home.
A guest can just talk to the voice assistant. Where can I find the chargers? Now the large language model has seen in my tool set, oh, wait a second, there was a tool called Get Item Locations in the Home. I'm going to allow this. This was a script that I actually saw on Reddit. Somebody did, and I rebuilt it because I thought so cool. It's like, and here's like the answer is you can find the chargers in the second drawer of the console next to the thermostat. If we look at what about the towels and maybe some water. Now, towels on the bathroom upstairs, water, cold water in the fridge. Now, how does Claude know all this? And this is really the most simple, dumb script you can think of, or tool. The only thing it does, Claude calls Home Assistant. Home Assistant just returned a piece of text that I wrote. It just returned a piece of text, and the large language model understands all this information and is providing this information. So what you can start doing with this, and this is actually awesome, is that you don't want to overwhelm a large language model with too much text during a conversation. If you do that, it gets overwhelmed. So by being able to split it all up in all these tools, like, oh, this is if a user asks about locations, get the text about the locations. If a user asks about calendar events, call a tool for the calendar events. You actually don't have to expose too much information initially, and you can pull all that information in. So this is really cool. And this, by the way, this is just generated in a script. This is super simple, dumb script, and it's just a set variable block. So
Do you want to share the extremely complex process to expose a script to Assist?
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Let me. Let's see.
Well,
It's
you're doing that,
interesting, right? Like here we are building tools for LLM. Yes, in this case, it's MCP. That's the new thing. But if you forget 1 second about MCP, you could also just want to do the same thing on Home Assistant. Like I want to offset something. I want a tool that is called get item locations. And when I call it, then it's going to get that tool. This is super easy to do. And creating these kind of custom tools can be very useful for many things. We can make other demos if we have time afterwards. Have a full reminder thing with tools like this that is very simple, but yeah.
So, for example, here, if you want to add in fields, you can say add field, right? So this is like, I want to have a message field or something, right? Like you can do a lot of cool stuff. Use this. This is the message that should be played out loud. This information is being sent to the large language model, right? And then you just have action.
Do stuff. Yeah, you do stuff.
You say, no, new script 2. You go.
Actually, you should name it well.
Yes, normally you would name it well. I'm just for the.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually run the script like also inside Home Assistant. This is one of my favorite / hidden features in Home Assistant is that you can add fields to a script. You can make these mini forms. You can then open these quickly from your dashboard to like run small programs, and then you go into voice assistants. You expose it to Assist. And even actually, Amazon and Google also support scripts, right? They will only turn it on and off. They will not pass any fields. So in this case, we would require a message field. But now Assist is able to call the script, right? And it just works.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's enough AI for today. Why don't we talk about the next big thing? Extended intent support.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to do this one?
Yeah, real quick. Somebody who obviously tried out speech to phrase said that it was crashing at startup because one of their sensors had like a microgram symbol or something. So this is a message we're trying to say over and over to people, like, check your exposed entities and make sure you only have what you plan to use exposed, because it will try to train on everything. And this is a bug I need to fix where, there's certain symbols and things like that it needs to exclude. But yeah, just definitely check your exposure stuff.
Yeah.
Right,
a degree symbol smaller than larger than symbols, you wouldn't be able to pronounce that, right? Another single speech to text system would get that right. So yeah, it makes no sense to expose those. So you probably want to either rename them or add aliases or these kind of things.
Yep. So yeah, what expanding intent support? Well, so over time, our goal has been to add as many voice commands as we can to make ourselves on par with other voice assistants or go beyond. We've covered a lot of like the most common use cases, turning things on and off, lights, setting colors, timers, weather, media control, all this stuff. And so now we're adding broadcast support. So if you have multiple Assist satellites in your home, you can broadcast a message to all the other satellites. And in the very next Home Assistant release, 2025.3, this will also include your Wyoming satellites. So for those who don't know, the Wyoming.
Oh, look at that.
Wyoming is the protocol that kind of glues together the various pieces of voice in Home Assistant. And a Wyoming satellite, usually they're built on Raspberry Pis. It's kind of a bring your own hardware situation. Plug in a USB microphone, plug in whatever speakers you got, and run the Wyoming satellite software that I wrote to enable this. It shows up in Home Assistant as a regular voice assistant, and it now supports will support announcements, and so therefore it can also be part of broadcasts in the next Home Assistant release. So you can say dinner is ready, or you can do like Paulus's kids and have broadcast battles, with each other.
There is an interesting question about broadcast.
Yeah.
What about specific ones instead of basically broadcasting to every other satellite? For sure, the sentence doesn't exist yet. So for now, the only sentence that exists is broadcasting to everything. But I think the intent itself supports targets now.
No, it doesn't.
yet.
So
Okay.
what happened is that we were like, but because this question actually related to Scott's question, is that like, wasn't there like extra work that was necessary to get set temperature working? Yes, actually both of these we were like, for a long time we were holding back because we were overthinking it. And in this
Yeah.
release, we were like, you know what? We're just going to add them in the most basic way. And once we
Let's see,
figure
yeah.
out how to do these targeting things, we will readjust it. So broadcast is now just broadcast to every voice satellite except the one that is doing the broadcasting, excluding voice over IP devices, which we will show you on the next slide why that is very important.
Why? Yes.
Yes. And the set temperature is also one where we've gone back and forth. It's one of those things that sounds like, oh, this is dead simple, right? And it is simple if you have one thermostat and that's it. If you start thinking about, oh, I've got like this device, this climate device that controls the heating, and this other one that controls the air conditioning, and they're both in different rooms, but they heat other rooms besides those or cool them. Like, okay, so, and then I say I want to set the temperature in a different room to this thing. It starts to get complicated to know which one should I target. So for this release, we've gone pretty basic. If you got,
when you
you
think about it, it's actually it's basic, but we are still supporting a few setups that are pretty common.
Yeah. So what we do is if you when you add your voice PE or your other satellites to Home Assistant, you put it in an area, and if you say set the temperature to 17 degrees, it will look for a climate device in that area. If there isn't one, it will look for a climate device on that floor. If there isn't one, it will consider the whole house. If it finds multiples at that point, it will say, I don't know what to do. I'd rather do nothing than the wrong thing. And from there, you could use it by name. You could say set temperature of the Ecobee to 17 degrees.
This layered means that we support kind of two setups that are very common, which is one climate per room. So for example, my radiators have a thermostatic valve. So if I say set the temperature to 90 degrees, it's going to be this one. And we also support just floor thermostat, for example. Like yeah.
And I'd like to add more possibilities to this, just like someone mentioning in broadcast, broadcast to a specific satellite or area, like, announce in the kitchen. Like we'd like to add this in the future, but for right now, we got to start somewhere. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. And then if you have a very particular use case, I don't know, you have two radiators in one room, things like this, and you really want to have this command, you can still create a custom sentence trigger.
Yeah.
It's manual work, but when you think about it, when you have very particular setup, it's maybe the best. But yeah, we would like to do that. But for now, it's what Mike said. It's like first area, then floor, then house, and if we find multiple of them, we fail.
Yep. All right, we are going to learn about the coolest feature of 2005. Like the feature that we're going to talk about now is a feature that we've been dreaming about for a very, very, very long time. It's part of like another bigger tutorial that we announced like also a year and a half, I think. It is maybe maybe the best feature of 2025. Yeah, CSV expert. That's true. That was 2024. So luckily we're in February.
Think more the year 1900 when you're thinking of this.
Yeah,
feature.
no, this is the best feature of the year 1900.
And I'd have to ask a large language model the exact year.
All right. JLo is going to present it. I think you have prepared like some amazing demos, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, do we present it or do I just
Whatever you want. You're going to show it?
listen? Yeah. Does it work? It doesn't work right. Sorry. Did mine? Oh, nice. Wait, I think that the videos are failing. Give me a sec. I'm just going to. Okay, one sec. Remove demo. Re-add demo. I think I added the video files too long before doing the stream.
Yeah, we
So,
didn't
one sec.
sacrifice the voice PE to the demo gods before the stream.
The video doesn't play now.
No.
Yeah. Unless
Okay.
the demo is just your cool.
It's
Yeah, it's
interesting
corkboard up
that
there,
that the video doesn't play.
Oh no. Okay, well, it is still the best feature. We can just not.
Not CSV export, CVS export.
Let me
Get
just
your
try another
prescriptions.
one. Let me just try another one. This is interesting. Okay.
I have one of your videos, the start conversation out. I don't know what
Okay.
it's called. You want me to edit?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it on your system. It's very weird that my files are not working on. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, this is start conversation out.
Do you want to listen to your favorite playlist?
Yes, please.
Your favorite playlist is
Nice. Okay.
It's cool because this was it was actually the demo to show. If you had to show one, it was the demo to show. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what just happened, Jella? What are we looking
Two
at?
things.
What?
Two things more or less. Two things. Actually, I can just share my screen to show you what happened. Two things. I mean, no, one thing, but it's yeah. First of all, is that there is a new action that already existed for voice preview edition and other things like this that is called announce, and it is a very simple action. So announce. And this one is basically you just put some text, like hello. Actually, it should be in French because my voice assistants are in French. And you pick an entity, for example, this voice preview edition, and it's just going to play the audio through the pipeline that is configured in this voice preview edition. So it's going to pick the pipeline that is on this one, which I think is going to be Piper for this one. Click.
Bonjour.
And that's Piper that is saying hello. The first thing that we did was that now this feature works. So just before that, because that's the funny part. This is just the text-to-speech part of the pipeline. So the pipeline is
When
the
you
whole
say
thing,
pipeline, I don't know if we use that word always, but
the
like
assistant,
voice assistant,
the
right?
assistant,
Yeah,
the voice assistant. Yeah. And so now what we did was making the voice over IP platform available, supported for that. So if I do that, I have no one in my house. I can do it because analog phones are extremely loud. Actually, you know, I could even like, I mean, you're not going to hear it because I have like all of this voice echo cancellation on my microphone. But if I do that, it's going to try to play hello on my analog phone, but it can't because I have to pick it up, so it rings. And this is what you saw. So this is I would say step one is, for example, you could install a phone on your kids' room and announce that the dinner is ready, but they have to pick it up before having the response, which is quite interesting for nothing actually. It's just fun. I think it's just fun.
No, I think what the reason why I'm a big fan of this feature and why I think it's actually one of the bigger features of this year is that normally we're so used to mobile phones, and so we only think to reach a person is to do mobile phone notifications. But if you just want to notify a room and you want to know that the notification has been received, the phone is the way, right? The phone rings. If the user doesn't pick up within 30 seconds, the service call fails. So you can handle this error case in your scripts. But But if the user does pick up, they will hear the message on repeat, right? Like, dinner is ready, dinner is ready, dinner is ready. And if they hang up, then you see that as well. And so you know, okay, they have received the message. And it could be dinner is ready, but it could also be something, for example, laundry, right? Maybe laundry is ready. You don't want to send a push notification to the person that's doing a YouTube live stream or like is somewhere else. You want to make sure that the people in the living room that might have time for getting
Yeah.
the laundry to put them in the dryer to get notified.
I just removed all of my echo cancellation on my mic. Let me just tell me, do you hear that? Sorry, no? Okay, good. Because I mean, the phone is 2 rooms away. I just woke up my dog. Actually, it's super loud, and this is what Paulus said. I'm not going to pick it up. It's actually like very confusing to talk with that because it's very loud and it's going to fail. So the action is going to
I can
fail.
hear
So
it.
you can handle this actually.
I can hear it very faintly
Okay.
in my headphones. I like to tell people that instead of the call is coming from inside the house, now the call is the house.
Yeah, there you see the error.
So this is like step 1, which is just the announcement. So if I would have picked up the phone, I would have heard hello, but that's the end.
Look, Matt gets it, right? The dryer is giving you a call to know your clothes are dry.
Yeah.
Exactly, yes. But what you saw on the demo was me picking up. So first of all, me entering the room. I will show you the whole thing, but me entering the room, something triggering the phone, which was presence sensor. And then after I was picking up the phone was saying, do you want to listen to your favorite playlist? And I was saying yes, and this actually worked. This is a new action that is called Start Conversation.
This is the next level.
Yes, it's the next level. Start Conversation is the first break to the next big opportunity we want to tackle on voice, which I'm calling making Assist more conversational. Today, Assist is transactional. So you say the wake word, you ask a command, it replies, and it's done. The idea of making it more conversational would be that it's maybe more like a ping pong back and forth between the assist, you and the agent, and in both directions. This one is the first break, which is now it's the agent that is going to start the conversation first. So you enter a room. Do you want to listen to your favorite playlist? And you will be able to continue that conversation. So replying yes or no. And again, it's the first break, and we made it's the simplest path for us, and the simplest path for us is LLM, because we don't have the plumbing available to do that in Assist, but we want, of course, to have these kind of things in Assist, and I do have a few use cases for this kind of back and forth that we should actually support in the default agent. So start conversation, same thing, the target. As of today, you can see that actually I have only one entity that is available for that, which is the voice over IP. So all of the VPs are not there, but it's coming.
It's
coming.
It's the goal, right? It's coming. There is no blocker for that. It's just that it has to come from another platform, which is ESPHome. And then you can put a message, which is what the user is going to hear. So for example, hello, do you want to listen to your favorite playlist? And you can even provide to the agent some extra prompt. For example, if the user says yes, do this, Yeah. If you don't provide it, do something. If you don't provide it, the agent still gets this part. So if it's very clear, for example, do you want to turn on the light? You don't even need to provide system prompts.
I think that one is actually interesting because, for example, the use case that we were thinking of is that there are sometimes questions Home Assistant wants to ask from the user that are urgent, right? Like, for example, you left the garage door open, or like, we see motion, do you want to do something? And now, of course, you can send actionable notifications, but again, you don't know who you're sending it to. They might be somewhere else. So you could just call the living room and say, hey, you left the garage door open. Do you want me to close it? And then in that extra system prompt, you specify exactly which entity was left open, such that the large language model is successful and doesn't have to actually figure out how to control the garage door, right? So you can say garage door cover dot backyard garage or something was left open.
So the kind of the vision is you enter a room, the VP greets you. Hello, Paulus, how are you? Do you want to resume the playlist that you were listening before? Yes, and it's done. And all of this, what I said, is an experience that is available. I mean, okay, sorry. Today it's available on the analog phone because that's the first platform that supports it. But again, ESPHome is coming. And the only restriction is it's LLM based because it's the simplest way. But again, we would like to have these kind of things happening also for the default agent. And again, this back and forth between the user and the agent are needed. One of the simplest example that all of the other voice assistants are doing is set a timer and you forget a slot. So more or less every time we forget a slot, so you forget a data that is required to fulfill your intention, set a timer. If you try that on Siri or Alexa, they will say yes, but for how long? And you can say, 3 minutes. And that could be like a default pattern for all of like this pattern, like forgetting some information. Turn off the lights, but you are on your phone, so your phone is not assigned to an area. You could say, yes, I don't know where you are. Which lights? The living room lights. So for now, today, it's starting the conversation from the agent through AI. And over the analog phone, yes. It's pretty funny, yeah.
And this is the first baby step, right? So Voice PE, ESPHome is coming. I see the question a few times. We're not sure exactly when. Non-AI start conversation is coming, but it's going to be more complicated because it has to work with speech to phrase. So we actually can ask yes, no questions, and maybe that's it. But that will be a great start.
But you also need to support what is going to happen if you say yes, if you say no. So it's
exactly
like a bigger automation, something like this. We are thinking, but yes.
But what I really like about analog phones is that you don't have to teach people how to use it. Everybody understands the phone rings, I need to pick up and listen, right? Like, this is great. And then the voice then can give instructions how to do the next interaction. So maybe it's dinner ready, there's no need to respond. It is like you left something, whatever. You can use it for wake-up calls, like for the kids, something like this, right? So it's a lot of cool and fun stuff, and we cannot wait to see what all of you are going to make with it. If you're interested in making your own, we published this tutorial. Gabriella did a great write-up. It was called The World's Most Private Voice Assistant. I can share the tab actually real quick, just so that people see it. I actually had posted in the chat a few seconds ago, but I'll post it again. And we have a whole tutorial with buy an analog phone. Any analog phone works, right? This is the cool thing. There's so many cool analog phones. I have a cool Erico phone from back in the 60s or something. Still works with Home Assistant now. Home Assistant can make calls on it. Get a Grand Stream. It's like 30 something bucks. And that's it. And it will work with all the things we have just discussed. Even speech to phrase will work with analog phones. Not with the AI part, of course, but you can pick up an analog phone and say, turn on the light. It will work. So, super cool. Check it out. Big shout out to Jamin H, who has been working on this, who contributed this feature. You're the best.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And there are other boxes that kind of work with this. We recommend the Grand Stream. We can't support possible variation. We're trying, but we appreciate the contributors who are helping us extend support. But Grand Stream's the way to go.
There is actually a very interesting question. What's an analog phone?
To say everyone knows what to do with a phone. I don't think that's a true statement, unless you have an age cutoff.
This is like an analog phone, like the old school phones, right? The one that have a wire and not a wireless.
Actually, it has one wire, so it is not even connected to.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's connected to power, but it's not connected to like a power plug. It's connected to a phone line, which you don't have anymore in your home, most certainly. And the Grand Stream provides the phone line, and I'm going to say power over Ethernet. It's technically a weird Ethernet, but it's basically powering the phone. It's kind of this, right? It's only one plug. You just plug it and it rings, and that's it. Right?
So the phone cable goes into the green thing. Blue is Ethernet. So then it just goes into your network switch, and then this box calls directly Home Assistant, and Home Assistant calls this box directly. You don't need a phone subscription or all that stuff. 100% local, huh? Of course. So
And you would be surprised how many types of hamburger phones you can buy off Amazon. Like, I don't know why it was like a hugely popular design. So you can.
And the frog phone, the banana phone, like
Yeah.
I
there's
tried
a
to
lot
find a
of-
banana
This
phone.
is like it's we all went into like a shopping spree for analog phone like a few
Yeah.
years, like 2 years ago when this was released, and it's super fun. And actually, you will see that it's a collector's item. Some of them are extremely expensive. In France, there is the same that I have that you saw in the video, but in very bright orange. That was like a kind of a collector phone from the phone company, and this sells for like $180, something like this. But everyone or every like grandparent has one. it's actually very fun. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the final topic because I already see a couple of times Wyoming this, Wyoming that. Is Wyoming still there? Mike's showing his shirt. It's good. Take it away, Mike.
Yes, just a little. I kind of already mentioned some of this, but just to let people know, yes, I'm still working on Wyoming satellites. So announcements will be coming. After this, I'm going to be working on Start Conversation for Wyoming also, and in the future, media player support. I would love to get that in there. Most of the focus has been on the ESPHome, but Wyoming satellites are still a thing, so I'm working on.
Yeah.
And another thing that was added previously, but we didn't announce in the last chapter. So right now, most people who are running a Wyoming satellite run Open Wake Word locally, and the Wyoming satellite talks the Open Wake Word, and then when it's detected, it goes out to Home Assistant. Micro Wake Word, which is what Kevin wrote and runs on the Voice Preview Edition, the little Atom Echo. That is also available as an add-on that you can install locally on the Wyoming satellite or in Home Assistant if you're wanting to stream. And so the cool thing about this is it's smaller models, it's more performant, which is usually not a big problem on the Raspberry Pis. But we've been collecting data through something called the Wake Word Collective, real samples of the OK Nabu Wake Word. And I always wait to see if somebody goes off. And so these real samples have been making it into the training set that Kevin's used to improve this wake word for real world use cases. And so I think for people who want to keep up to date kind of with that, this is a good case for it. It works. Also, I think it works better, at least in the stuff I've played around with, for if you have music in the background or something like that, you can still pick it up. And if you're interested in wanting to contribute, we especially, need more women, more people with higher voices to contribute to the Wake Word Collective. Or if you have what would be considered an accent, I don't really like that term personally, with my knowledge of linguistics and stuff. But if you have an accent and you're speaking English, then it's a great help if you could contribute to the Wake Word Collective.
Yeah.
I see a couple of questions, by the way. I think it's super interesting. One is, are there plans to run Micro Wake Word as an Android app? It was the dream. We really wanted this. And if somebody here is like, I want to run this, I get it running on Android, we will add it to the Home Assistant app for sure. Like turning old Android phones into voice assistants.
Tablets.
It might not have the noise cancellation, all that stuff, but it will be a good use case. If you are an Android expert, try it out. Micro Wake Word is open source. If you get stuck compiling it on Android, that's probably the problem.
Well, if you look at, so by default, it runs with TensorFlow, right, Kevin?
Yeah, it's all TensorFlow. So that in theory should be good on Android since Google develops both.
But so it's there's a path. There's going to be a TensorFlow build for Android, and I think
there probably would be some permission issues though to have a wake word running all the time. But
I think that and the power draw would be the two things I would be most worried about, because
same. I would say wall tablets. I think it's the best example because
for wall tablets would be
plugged in.
Okay.
and they are usually pretty old, so the battery is already worn out, and people are
Yeah.
just plugging them in. And there is even some tablets that have removable battery that are still working when you plug them, which is just a perfect use case for.
Yeah.
And
see.
yeah,
I would say if you're Android dev, you get this working micro wake word, I'll send you a voice PE.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we'll get you on the stream. We'll get you on the voice chapter X.
Yeah.
You can talk about it. I just posted the Wake Word Collective URL, by the way, in the chat before. This is our website to help collect real world data samples, right? So we need some consent, giving your primary language so we can kind of derive what your accent is, and then we'll help you talk to record some samples for us, and you get it shared with us.
I think just the eventual goal with that primary language field is I want to train models basically for every language individually. Because I know Spanish, it's kind of gotten worse, unfortunately, because I've been working on trying to train out some false accepts with like okay now would trigger it before, and it seems like Spanish speakers, especially if there's a echo in the room, the B in Nabu doesn't get pronounced very well, and so it sounds a lot like okay now, and so it's kind of gotten worse for them. So ideally, I do want to train one for every language, but I need lots of samples for that. So please contribute.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
this-
and like with lots of samples, we mean like we would like 1,000 Spanish speakers, right, to get like going. Like this is not like 5 or 10. Like we need a lot of data to train these models.
It's a frustrating thing if you read all the papers from Google and Amazon about their wake word stuff. It's like, yeah, we just use 2 million samples that we collect from our users to train this. It's like, well, yeah,
Yes.
that'd be nice. But
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. So I've said this before. Like we're operating on a budget that's less than probably the pizza party budget that Amazon has for their voice team, and we've got Kevin, and we've got volunteers. Basically, we don't have $100,000 to throw at collective to get people to just record and everything. But the cool thing is, people have talked about, they're like, oh, it's not as good as my Alexa or whatever. And while that's not like positive feedback, it's actually great because it means we're doing so well that we're being compared to these billion-dollar companies in our performance. And
actually, with the LLM fallback and all of the tools calling, when it works, it can even be better. Of course, much more personalized. You build your own tool, etc. There are some parts that are a bit worse, but again, like there is a size difference and a resource difference that is so big that
I think in the end, open source will always win because open source will eventually catch up on all these things. You see this with large language models, right? Like we have Llama, there's DeepSeek, like they are running like equivalent like to GPT-4, which is like one of the flagship models of OpenAI, right? OpenAI is saying, oh, we're so cool, we're keeping everything locked in our cloud. We're like, okay, well, everyone else has these models now too, right? And all this stuff will get easier, cheaper, more affordable for us to run, and we'll catch up. In some places we will surpass them because we're open, and so we can do more cool stuff. Like I don't know if Google or Apple or Samsung or Amazon will ever allow you to integrate the smart home knowledge they have into an AI agent by another company. We don't care. If you as user who owns your data want to do that, please do it, right? You run it locally, it doesn't cost us any money. That's the kind of differentiation where we can even go beyond whatever big tech can do.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna highlight a few questions. I saw one. Someone was asking like streaming wake word on the voice PE. We have JLo has a gist.
Yes. So
I don't know where we shared it. Did we share it in the original voice PE announcement?
No, I can share it here if you want, but I just want to preface something.
Unsupported.
So it's not supported, and it's not because like there is some extremely big limitation. It's just because the voice team is the 4 of us, and we have to prioritize things. And we decided that it was maybe not the best idea to be spread thin. So we said let's focus on micro wake word. We have the the wake word collective, meaning that now it's fine-tuned on real data. This is something that you cannot really just. And so we decided that for now. The only wake word engine that will be available for the voice preview edition is the one that is on device. Now everything is open source. The firmware is open source, and by just copying some part of other firmware that we built in the past, for example, the S3 box, it is not super complex to have a streaming wake word model of the VPE. Except that in order to make it great, we should have, again, everything is open source. There are a few bugs. One of them is the voice activity detection that doesn't work because we are not in the correct framework of how we build on ESPHome, etc. These are all things that we could, of course, fix if it was a priority. And it was just like a decision that said, like, okay, let's focus on micro wake word. Where and how do I share the gist? I could share the gist.
I think
if
you
you
just
really
drop
want.
it in the chat here, and then it will just get posted to all the places where we're streaming.
Okay, is it not like too much exposure for something that doesn't work?
Yeah.
But okay.
I
mean,
yeah, I was going to bring that up.
So Ivan is asking about Alexa as a wake word. Like for us to distribute wake words that can be copyrightable, that's just not a good move, right? We don't want to, we want to compete with Amazon. We don't want to piss them off. Definitely not the legal team. So we will not distribute an Alexa wake word. I think that the streaming wake word, there is an option for Alexa, I think. Micro wake word, because it requires more real world human samples. The streaming wake word was fully trained on synthetic data. So for micro wake word, I don't expect there to be a big high quality collection of custom wake words. We do have a Jupyter notebook available that some people have used to train a micro wake word that works okay-ish. I'm not sure. We have shared this notebook. I don't know if there's a whole community built around yet of like using.
I know several people are experimenting with it and getting some results. Open wake word, it's a lot easier to train whatever one you want and have it work well, especially if you have like an American English accent. I think that really is where it excels. But even then, it can do better, much easier than what micro wake word can do. Though this notebook does exist. It's in the micro wake word repository. People have done it. They've gotten models that work. They're just not as good as the Nabu model does. That has the real samples in them. And I'd love to make this easier. I'd love people to experiment with it because there's all these hyperparameters that you can adjust and how much you weigh this type of data versus this data. And it makes a huge difference. And I don't know what the best ones are. And it's frustrating because on one wake word, it'll be, these are the great settings. On another wake word is a completely different set of settings that work well. Yeah. So it's a lot of experimentation. And if you can help with that, I'd love to hear, here's a good way to do it. So if you're into this machine learning stuff and you have some experience, I'd love for you to try it and figure out.
All this stuff is open source, right? So for micro wake word experiment, just search GitHub micro wake word. That's probably the easiest thing. Kevin Arendt is the GitHub username. That's Kevin's username to host it.
Yeah,
I'm not very creative with names, so.
And the you can change the wake word model in the ESPHome. If you take control of the device, you can set it to a URL. So there's nothing stopping community members from training really great models and people just saying, "Oh, I just want to use that model." Like we don't restrict any of that. It's just our time and not wanting to piss Amazon off.
But I think the vision that we already shared it with Paulus the last time or a few chapter ago is that we would like to have at least maybe one model per language that has been maybe selected by the communities inside this language. So like a French model that has been selected by the French and Canadian French and all of the other French-speaking country communities locally. So that we have only a few of them and then we can keep it under control because again, OKNABU is, so yes, you did not pick it and I understand that it's frustrating, but it's very good because it is trained on like 20,000 samples of real data with like a variety of accent, age, demographic, genders, and this is making like all of the difference. I think I already shared it a long time ago, but I was not able to. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's a lot better than what we had originally, but it can still be better. I especially am not happy with how biased it can be towards women and not accepting them as well. And so that's something I'm working on trying to improve. And more samples helps. So please contribute. Please have your family members contribute.
Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I mean, we were like, oh, there's going to be a smaller chapter. Here we are, almost 2 hours later. If you're still watching, thank you so much. I'm going to throw up the mandatory thank you slide. Now, first of all, I want to say huge thanks to all language leaders. There is so many community language leaders that they are working on all the different languages, collecting all the sentences. When we launched speech to phrase, they were quickly in beta. They were quickly making sure that like their languages, recording real world voice samples, building test cases. We couldn't do this without all of you language leaders, because we speak Dutch, English, French, like that's it, right? We want to support every language in the world. That's why we're building a framework. That's why we're building it together with a community. That's why we're building it with all of you watching today. And then, of course, big thanks to Nabukasa, ESPHome Foundation, for the ESPHome team, the marketing team, the product team, all the engineering team, everybody who's been involved in making all of this possible. Like, you always see us on the stream because we are like, the ones like deep in the trenches when it comes to voice. But there's so many people that make it possible for us to do this work, to do these streams, to create pretty graphics, polish up the videos and all that stuff. And so big thanks to all of them. If you want to support our work, if you want to make sure that we keep doing cool stuff, like I said before, please subscribe to Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. It allows us to just do this full time, right? Like, Mike will just go sit in his chair, think all day, how can we make like local voice a possibility? And then we come up with things like speech to phrase. Like these are technologies that, sure, it's an older model, but there's a lot of things around it to make it all possible and as seamless. And these things, they can only really be built if you have the time to sit and think about it, right? We believe in open source, and open source people can make a lot of things possible. But if you can only build open source in the 2 hours after you've been working all day, there's not enough time to like think through all the different possibilities and opportunities to really sit down and get deep. And to do that, you just need to work on it full time. And that's the kind of stuff that, with all the support of all you guys, that's what we make possible. That's what we are able to do. And so big thanks to everyone that is supporting us.
In the context of voice, subscribing to Home Assistant Cloud gives you one of the best voice engines. So on top of supporting us, you get kind of the best voice experience.
Yes. I mean, it's super fast, super high quality. So that's definitely a good one too. All right. Thanks, everyone. And then if you like to, by the way, get started with voice at home, try out the Home Assistant Voice Preview Edition. Like, it is the highest possible quality voice assistant for our ecosystem today. It is like a bar raiser, as you can say, and it's awesome. It's still in stock. Let's try to sell it out again. All right. Thank you so much.